Physics Bites.
Physics Bites,
A science podcast in English by the students of Notre-Dame d'Ascension.
Hello and welcome to Physics Bites, the English language physics podcast of the students of Notre-Dame d'Ascension here in Paris. So we've arrived at our final episode in our series on search for extraterrestrial intelligence. We've gone through most of the science, most of the history of the topic, and we're turning to maybe the most important topic of all. What is the social impact? What is the impact on human culture if and when we do have some sort of a contact with some form of extraterrestrial intelligence? So we have our four final students who are going to talk to us about this. I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Hello everyone, my name is Anais.
Hello, my name is Sofia.
Hey, hi, my name is Brune.
So we have Anais, Sofia, Maxine, and Brune, who are going to talk to us about this whole idea of the social, cultural, religious, various impacts on society. So maybe we can start off with Maxine. Maybe you can give us an overview of the sort of things that you guys found when you were doing your research. Maybe you can give us a general approach to how you guys went about doing your research, and then we can go into the details.
So SETI is a lot of things, and first of all, science research, but there is also more social question that raised when we talk about SETI questions, ethical and social. And so we wanted to talk about this.
And so let's get into it, right?
Yes.
So when you guys actually did your presentation, you talked about a lot of different angles. Obviously, we're not going to get into them. You talked everything from the impact it will have on like religious and religious thought to the influence it can have on art, on public imagination. You talked about how it relates to human myths, for example. You went into a bit of detail about the ethics of it, right? The ethics of METI in particular, which was the work done by another group about actually actively trying to search and communicate with these extraterrestrials. But I think it would be difficult to go through all of that. So maybe we will bring it down to like 2 or 3 main points that we're going to discuss, right? So we can talk about the politics of it, because that's going to be something. It was brought up in the first presentation, the whole idea of like some of your classmates not having a lot of faith in humanity, given our political past, the way we're going to react to things. And then maybe we can go on to maybe the religious aspect, because that's kind of really interesting, and generally how it's going to affect the social fabric. So who wants to start? Maybe we can go to Sofia.
Okay. So the first, and I think the biggest question on SETI is, should we send a message?
Mm-hmm.
Because there is a biggest debate on SETI. So the people who prefer to listening to all the signals, and another team who are more for the METI, so to actively send message.
Mm-hmm.
But the warning is, sending a message is a mass experiments on 8 billion people, so we have to have maybe a global vote to everybody. But in fact, there is countries who are not really, who don't really know about it, and I think it's a really important question to maybe add this subject on school to everybody who wants to be interested on this subject, who could know about it.
Right. So you're basically saying that it's not just, we shouldn't do something just because we can do it, right? Like we can send radio waves, or we can send a message. We have done this a few times, right? As the other groups mentioned, in the 1970s, in the 1990s, in the 2000s, recent. So you're saying that this is not just something that we should take lightly. We have to actually think about this in a very ethical and philosophical way, because the consequences wouldn't be just localized to the scientists who sent the message. It's going to have consequences on everybody on the planet, right? What would be your suggestion? How would we go about something like this, right? We can't have a vote with 8.5 billion people, right? That's not true or even possible. How would we go about doing something?
So I think it's important to inform the more people we can. So maybe to do a lot of campaign on very few countries, because today, if we look, there is 90% of the money comes from the China USA and the European countries. So this is not really a global effort, but more a monopoly of the North.
But isn't that a consequence of the fact that this is the kind of research that like rich countries can do, right? If you're
Yes.
a less rich country and you have to make choices with the limited resources that you have, like you're not going to go and, try and educate people on SETI when you have trouble like feeding people and like bringing electricity and clean water. Yeah, Anais, I think you wanted to add something.
Yes, a possible solution will be to make like a collective decision at the international level with the
Like the United Nations, for example. It's like,
yes.
so you have representatives of countries. What criteria? I mean, how do you think people would vote? How do you think different countries would vote in something like this? Do we want to actively contact, try and send out signals or not? Do you think it's something that people would go for or not? Yvonne?
It depends on the way you're looking at it, because some people see it like in an optimistic way, like it could be great, we could like learn a lot of things, and it's like very important to discover what is around us, because like we know we're not alone. It's like 90% sure that we're not alone. But the other way people are looking at it, it's very pessimistic. Like that if we send a message, we could give it the position of Earth, and if they are like a threat for us, they could like destroy us or like destroy everything.
Right. Be the end of life on Earth, or at least human civilization in that case. Isn't that kind of projecting how we as humans behave onto like another life form eventually? But
scientist Stephen Hawking made an hypothesis that this could he made a comparison with Christopher Columbus when he discovered America, and he told that the most likely is when a technologically advanced civilization met a less advanced one. The weaker the civilization, the weak civilization is often dominated by the more advanced or even destroyed. So we also think that if a civilization is able to receive our message and reach us back, they will likely to be more advanced. So he said that if they contact us, this could lead us to...
Okay, so the idea being that when in doubt, take precautions, right? Like don't take a risk that could eventually have extinction as a true possibility. I think Maxine, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, but just about when you ask what the country would vote, I think that many countries are not educated enough to kind of really learn about the SETI subject and all the consequences it could have if we send a message of or if we find civilization.
Is it a question of education, or is it a question of like, I mean, do you think that, for example, we in France are any more quote unquote educated about the question, or is it something else?
We are like more informed. We have like,
what would you call like how are we more informed on the question?
We have, I think, data and things we can look at if we want. We can find more things.
But scientific data generally is open source, right? So everybody has access to it, right? Yeah. So I think the question then is it a question of education, or is it a question of like having a scientific or a research infrastructure that can actually look into that data? Maybe. Sofia, I think you wanted to say something?
No, I just wanted to add the idea that I think there is not really publicity about it. And
like advertisement and
yes.
like, public awareness.
And it's more like a no project. It's for just physicians or people.
Physicians, doctors.
Physicists who really love a universe and who going to look at it. But if you didn't know, you will never maybe think it's...
be exposed to it, right? Like I think we're going to talk about this at the very end, but many of the other groups, when I asked a question at the end of each episode, like, so how did you think this project was going to go? Most of them were telling me, like, I had no idea what it is, and I thought, wow, this doesn't seem very interesting at all. And then by the end, when you actually go and learn a little bit about it on your own, you're like, oh, it's actually a very scientific topic. So I guess it's less a question of education in the classic sense of the term, more like awareness, I suppose, right? Would you think it would make a difference, the whole question of METI, if we knew there was some sort of an extraterrestrial intelligent civilization somewhere, as opposed to just sending out a message hoping that somebody hears it? Do you think there's a difference between the two? Is it ethically different?
Maybe like the most pessimistic people would like be really doesn't agree. I think they would like there will be more disagreements about it. And people would be like much on different sides in their position and saying they could say like really they don't want it because they will be scared of the
consequences.
Yeah.
So out of curiosity, where do you guys stand on this? So if we knew that there's an extraterrestrial civilization like in 70 light years, would you be for trying to establish contact? Let's say we've detected some atmospheric technosignatures, we saw satellites around the planet or something like that. Would you be interested in trying to establish contact, or are you guys more in the more sort of conservative, more cautious Anais?
I think we will contact them because we can do researches to...
Right, so it can be a positive thing for humanity in terms of like collaboration. So you're more... positive and optimistic person.
Yes.
Sofia, how do you feel about contact with the aliens?
I think there is no like a yes or no team, but I'm maybe more conservative.
Okay. So you're not so gung-ho, we should get in contact and go out for drinks Friday night.
No, but I think it's really important to study about it, but maybe to send a message and we know there is someone and we're sure 200% it could be dangerous for the humanity, and there is scientists Trafalgar and Vision who argues that the discovery of a signal could start a war on Earth because it
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Let's get into that. Why do you think discovering that there is some sort of alien culture somewhere else would create wars on Earth?
But because I think it's like a geopolitical aspect, because there is many countries more important who really maybe want to have the monopoly on the all information to maybe control others or just have more power. And it's also a danger, not because of the alien, but because of us, because it will maybe remind us of paranoia colonization, we say Brune before with...
Right. So it's interesting what you're saying, because you're saying that regardless of whether that extraterrestrial civilization is dangerous or not, our human reaction is more to sort of think about ourselves before anything else, and you're not very optimistic on human nature in a lot of ways. Or the people who are in this camp, they think that we're going to want to reproduce, I think, a lot of past behaviors. So for you, human nature is just intrinsically kind of violent and irrational in a ways, right? Those at least who believe in this sort of thing.
No, not really violent, but more unpredictable.
Okay.
Not sure.
Okay, that's interesting. Maxine, what about you? Where do you stand on trying to contact aliens? Would you be for it?
I don't really know, because I think it's real with like the human curiosity and the risk it is. Yes. So I don't know, but I kind of agree with.
Okay, so you're kind of on the fence. You're not so sure. You're not as positive on it as Anais. And so, Brune, where do you stand on this?
I think it would be very interesting to contact them, but I think we should take like a lot of precaution to assure us and not lead us into. We should not like jump right into it and
so you guys are all very cautious, and Anais is like, no, I want to contact them. Okay, so I think we can go on for hours to talk about talking about what the consequence on human society would be. Just as a very general final question on this, how do you think in general most people are going to react? So to finish up on this topic, my question for you is, we're going to go into a bit of speculation. Imagine tomorrow morning you wake up and the headline of most world newspapers is, we've confirmed the existence of extraterrestrial civilization, a solar system not too far from. How do you think humanity is going to react? Maybe we can start with Anais.
I think they will panic because it's big.
It is big news, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't believe the idea. I think a lot of people.
What would be the reason that they would panic, in your opinion? What would make them panic? Is it the idea of danger for our lives, danger for our civilization, or is it just that it's so unlikely that their reaction is going to be...
Because we don't know them, their capacity, level of intelligence. We don't know if they are like dangerous or they want to attack us.
So the unknown generally for
Yes.
you provokes a reaction of fear. Okay. Sofia, how do you think? You wake up tomorrow morning, Le Monde, we found aliens.
Normally, there is first to verify if the signal may be a micro or
Mhm.
satellites, and after, if we're 100% sure it's real, we could maybe talk to nations with the government, not to inform everybody first, because at this stage it could be general panic.
Okay.
And they use the real scale, and it's scale from 0 to 10 to tell how important the signal is. And I think it's important to tell everybody it's not like a real discovery, because it's very important, but it's not maybe so shocked, because we know there is maybe...
Okay, so I'm getting mixed signals from you, because you're being kind of wary and you're trying to be careful about things, but at the same time, you're not right away thinking there's going to be panic, but you think that there's going to be information withheld maybe from governments because they don't want everybody to know. All right. Maxine, where do you stand on aliens?
I think I would kind of like doubt about it, because
Oh, really?
there is a lot of misinformation.
Fake news.
And yes, and like the governments, they tell us what they want us to know, and so maybe they're all going to say we found aliens. Maybe
Even if there was like a reputable journal who is announcing to the world that we have found this, you would doubt it still?
no, okay, then I will believe it. It's like very, very big news. So if there is no like proof, scientific proof that
You would want to be 200% sure
Yeah.
before you start deciding how you're going to react. Brune?
I think it's depend. I think the reaction would be like very different on function to the people.
Mhm.
Like if they're very interested in science, people could be like very curious and wanting to know more about. And I think they could be people that just like don't care about it and like, oh, it's in the space.
It's far away. It's
Yeah.
a long time before they come here.
And I don't think I read something from like studying social studying that said that the reaction, it's very, very not probable that the reaction would be like in the science fiction movie when everyone run out and panics. Like they think that people would not panic and just try to learn if they interested in it, or just like pass it.
I agree. I think I agree with you the most in the sense that it'll be, I think at first, very difficult to believe that it's so unlikely, and it's so important in terms of the way we changes how we view ourselves in the universe. But I don't think it's going to be panic either, right? I think it's going to be curiosity. There's going to be some people are going to be enthusiastic. Some people are going to be scared, right, about it. But it'll be interesting. It is true that it is a subject to a lot of science fiction books and movies, and some of them are more intelligent, and some other ones are just more about the spectacle of just people in the streets screaming and like banging their heads on the walls because aliens exist. All right, so let's move on to another thing, which for me is very interesting. I think how things might change on a religious scale if and when we think we have found the existence of other life forms than humans on other planets than Earth. Right? Are we agreed, at least all five of us, that it will have a deep impact on religion and on our religious thought? Okay. How do you think that impact would be then? Who wants Anais?
I think it's because in a lot of religion they believe that the gods like make the earth
Mhm.
and the life. If we discover another such extraterrestrial intelligence, they will remake a sort of like
What are you trying to say? You think it's going to change religious thought, or it will? So if I understand correctly, you're saying that for most people, they will just integrate it with their religious thought and just say, okay, so that means this form of life also is a product of the creator. So there's not a lot of conflict for you.
Yes,
in that sense?
no, because I think there will be a conflict because we believe that God make the life, and we tomorrow learn that in reality they have a lot of search of life like extraterrestrial, and it's really okay. They exist like other research.
So there would be difficulty accepting that there is another form of complete different. Why can, for example, not religion say, okay, it's just more of a testament to the glory of God or the creator, because it just shows that there's also life in such a different form elsewhere, and the universe is full of life, right?
I think religion could add up, but in the beginning I think it would be hard because like in few religions, like Earth is the center of like they said life is creating on Earth and we are like the center of the thing, and if we discover alien extraterrestrial life, we will not be the center anymore, and we will see that there other thing, and I think it could be hard on the beginning, but like religious people could reread the text and adapt the way we
interpret it. Okay. Could we say that what you're describing sounds a lot to me like, for example, what happened with Copernicus? And it sounds kind of like what happened with Darwin, right? In each case, human life, humanity is less and less at the center of creation, at the center of existence. Would this be comparable, do you think? That if we were to discover, for example, the existence of not just extraterrestrial life, but extraterrestrial intelligence and civilization, would it be comparable in its impact to the Darwinian revolution and to the Copernican revolution, or this would be something? Maxine, I think you wanted to say something.
I think that if we compare these two revolutions, both of them are like big news, and of course it's going to change a lot of things, but the common point of it, I think, a human sense of humility. Like, we're not the center of everything anymore.
So with Copernicus, we're no longer in the center of the universe, and with Darwin, we're not even in the center of like life on Earth. But then, if we keep going with the analogy, after Copernicus, there was a huge backlash from religious organizations. They reacted very violently to the idea of the Copernican revolution. With Darwinism and evolution, there was also a very strong backlash. There was a very strong reaction, a negative reaction. So would it not be logical to say that there would be a negative reaction as well in this case? Anybody who wants to answer? This is an open question for the whole group.
I think it is possible that he would create conflict, of course, because it's this thing that it kind of against agents that where there is another form of life out there. So of course there could be bad consequences like war.
Okay, so you guys are less unanimous in terms of what you think it might happen. Some are, but generally I get the feeling that you think the religious reaction could be more negative than positive.
Because I read that the Pope, like the last one, talked about they are informed about SETI also, and he said that they will see if there is extraterrestrial life. They will reinterpret everything, and they will adapt to how we see the world and the evolution of what we.
Okay, so that's like it's a more open-minded approach to the idea that, anyways, even if it is not on Earth, even if it is different, it's still life, and life is the result of divine creation. Do you think people will become more religious or less religious if we were to have proof of something like this?
I think they will less religious, because if we discover that they didn't start with Adam and Eve,
Adam and Eve, yeah.
It can be very difficult for a person of religious aspects. It's
Okay. Maxine might have something to say about this.
I think it will also prove like the power of science,
Okay.
and so in contradiction to religions and the.
So you think that the such a discovery would reduce the influence of religion on humanity and human thought in a way?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. So we get Brune.
I think it could be the opposite,
Yeah.
because like if we discover new thing, people could be like lost and don't know what to think about it, and they could like be more attached to the religion to have
Right. So
something
as a way to console themselves. Yeah, I understand. I think both are actually perfectly valid speculations. I guess we'll have to wait and see. In the end, probably it's going to be a bunch of people are going to become less religious. A bunch of other people are going to be even more entrenched in their religious thought, and we'll go on and and live. It was interesting that you guys did bring up right now and in the presentation that the Vatican has already sort of pronounced that even if we discover it or when we discover it, we're okay with it, right? I suppose that depends on the nature of the religion, the approach that the person has to it. So we've gone through this political, and we went through the social, the religious aspect. Where do you guys want to go next? Brune, do you have an idea?
It's not like a big part, but it's like there is a problem about who is going to find the information, and like the main telescope that is doing SETI today is in China.
Right.
It's located in China. And right now, like a lot of scientific are working there from UK, from America and United States. So right now, everyone has the information, but there is a geopolitical problem that if tension are starting and the country are not like friendly anymore between them, they could like say to the scientific, you go and you don't have the information. And
so the idea of a monopoly on such an important piece of knowledge, that's interesting. It's an interesting question. Maybe we start to wrap up because we're getting to the end of the hour. Do you guys want to maybe talk a little bit about, I liked the little tangent that you guys went on during the presentation, talking about how it could have an effect on art, for example, within human society, the way it could have an influence on symbolism and stuff like this. Do you want to maybe take a minute or two to one of you guys talk about it?
Can talk about
Sure, Sofia?
more cinematographic.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Because
Cinemas are.
yeah, because we know some movie who is more scientific and realistic way, like Arrival, Contact, or Independence Day.
Well, it's not a very scientific movie. Huh? It's just a big action movie. Huh? We love it, but still.
Yeah, but they ask real question.
Okay.
Maybe if we discover extraterrestrial life, how we're going to communicate, and maybe how we're going to act if it's dangerous or if they are angry. And I think art it's a really good way to pass message on new generations, a new person, and to maybe talk to everybody, because movie is more popular.
It's easy access. It's easily accessible by everybody. You don't need to have like specific knowledge. Everybody can have access to it. Yeah.
Art, it's a good way to
for us to deal with the question, right? I mean, it's a kind of a dilemma, like you say. It's a kind of a something we need to digest, and art is generally a good way for humans to digest because it's so wide and vast. Yeah, I think.
And even through books or science fiction story, attacked by Carl Sagan, again, it's made a message, the SETI subject.
Right, so it's a good way of like thinking in a more rational way about things. Okay, so maybe to wrap up, as usual, I'm going to ask you guys a question: how you guys found the topic? Because it is, I imagine, for like every other group, it was not something that you were necessarily very much aware of before. How did you find it interesting? Do you find it pertinent? If there was some stuff you discovered that was kind of striking or surprising? Has it changed your opinion on things? What do you think? Just like a general personal thoughts. Maybe we can start with Brune.
I find it very interesting because I didn't know we did as much thing to search for the extraterrestrial life. I know it could happen, but I really didn't matter. But I found very interesting all the problems that are going with it. It's not like just science, it's a major
interdisciplinary sort of a topic, right? It kind of touches on everything from hard science to like hard sociology to religion, right? It kind of encompasses everything. Okay. Sophia?
I think it was a really interesting, resonance, and mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, because we don't really often talk about it, and when we in real detail, we learn very much things, and it's really interesting. And I think we've got a topic more, I think, in the accent because it was on the social and cultural impact. And
not necessarily. I think it's just as important as the other ones, and it's even more difficult because it touches on so many different things, right? Because it was less focused. So
no, yes, it was difficult, but it was more
technical. It was less technical, maybe.
Yes. So and more about us directly.
Yeah. Okay. Anais?
I really like this subject because this experience learned me a lot of things, like the laws about sending message to civilization, and like the social aspects in SETI. Then I didn't know everything.
I think it's interesting because I think there's a lot of social aspects to most of science, but we have a tendency to like put science on one side, like social stuff on one side, and like government politics on one side. Things are not so naturally separated, right? There's always overlap, and with something like this, it's all the more of an overlap. To finish up, Maxine?
I think, like she said, it's a very large subject, and the more and more I was doing my research, found that when we talk about geostudy or really scientific fact, like everything is related, and so I think it was very
okay. It was very interesting for us also to have as a final presentation this sort of collective reflection on the idea of what will be the consequences, because whether we understand the science or not, whether we manage to actually discover or contact extraterrestrial intelligence, in the end the most immediate thing is going to be what happens around us. It's going to be what our neighbors are going to do, what our governments are going to do, how are we going to think about ourselves as a species. So it is, I think, not the least important of the topics that we went on. Maybe it's in the end the most immediately important. So thank you very much. You guys did a really good job with the topic. We learned a lot of stuff, I personally, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that is Physics Bites for this week. We hope that you enjoyed this episode, and we would love to hear what you thought about the topic in the comments section. If you did enjoy the show, then subscribe to our podcast, share it with your friends, and be sure to leave us a 5-star rating on whatever platform you're listening on. And more important than all of that, come back soon for a new episode.